Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today I have Doug Drysdale on the line, and he is CEO over at Cybin, and today's episode, part of our Milken Global Conference coverage series where we bring you the best of attendees, guests, participants, VIPs, panelists, speakers, you name it, all centered around the Milken Global Conference in Beverly Hills, California. So, Doug, welcome to the show.
Hey, Adam. It's great to be on with you today.
So, Doug, we got a lot to talk about. I definitely want to get into Cybin. I know you have some recent conversations with the FDA. They have some comments as well about the psychedelic therapeutics and really how this will affect the sector. We're also going to get into some of your partnerships and some on the impact these can have on Cybin. So some of your recently announced partnerships and, of course, just overall what Cybin's up to and transforming the treatment paradigm in neuropsychiatry. But before we do, Doug, I as part of the Milken Global Conference series, I got to know, how was your experience this year? Was this your first year? Have you been in the past? What's your connection?
Yeah. I've been 3 or 4 times now to the global conference. And
wow, so you're a veteran then.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and each year I think gets better and better as you get to figure out how to navigate the conference. There's so much going on and so many folks there. Aside from being a really great networking opportunity, the panels, the round tables, and the workshops are just really valuable. To be able to interact with policymakers, folks from the White House, state and local governments, it's quite a unique experience.
So lots of ways you could spend your time. Obviously, you're in a very interesting space that has getting a lot of traction right now. Why come back to this conference year after year? What I know on my end, I talk about it like it's the Super Bowl of conferences for me every year. In the community around it, that just keeps on building. It's interesting, and I agree with what you said. It gets better year after year. But what keeps you coming back?
I guess a couple of things. Specifically for us, psychedelic therapeutics are very much an emerging field and somewhat controversial, right? We've seen the war on drugs for the last several decades. And so keeping this pulse on how policymakers and influencers are viewing the work we're doing is important. It's important to get feedback and to listen. But also we're part of the larger healthcare system, of course. Overall, healthcare is a very complex subject that involves payers, government, practitioners, patients, and there's a lot of policy talk that goes on at Milken. So just staying on top of the bigger picture is really helpful as well.
Yeah. Let's switch it up a bit here. I do want to get into the work that you're doing day to day. So maybe start off with tell us a little bit more about the company, Cybin.
Yes, so Cybin is a public biotech company founded about 6 years ago. And as you said, we are working with psychedelic compounds. So we're taking these well-known psychedelic compounds, psilocybin, which originates in magic mushrooms, DMT, which is part of ayahuasca, compounds that we've known about for millennia, but then we're synthetically modifying them. So we're not extracting them from mushrooms or from plants in the jungle. We're synthetically creating and modifying these compounds to turn them into Western medicines. And we're just seeing incredible results where we are able to remove patients' depression in many cases after just a single dose. And after a couple of doses, many patients are free from their depression for a year or more. So very different to the way we treat depression today. Today we treat depressive symptoms. We don't treat the disease. Patients that take antidepressants take them every day, but when they stop taking it, their depression comes back. We're not altering the disease in any way. We're just sort of masking the symptoms. And this may be, for the first time, an opportunity to cure depression for long periods of time, at least a year so far in our work.
And what's been the response to this so far? Talk to me about some of the response, and because you said it is a newer space, or at least from the standpoint of the way it's being treated in the healthcare system, we'll say.
I think we've been through somewhat of a typical hype cycle. So back in 2020, early 2021, lots of interest, lots of investor interest. Stocks or spiked in the sector. Valuations are very high. And then, of course, that all reversed. And you get into the typical skepticism that comes after the hype. And that can be said for many high-growth emerging sectors like tech and AI as well, right? But now I think we're at a point where the science is accepted, both by investors, but also by the professional psychology and psychiatric bodies in the U.S. and by the FDA. FDA has granted us breakthrough therapy designation, so fast-track designation basically on our lead compound. And we're in late-stage clinical trials now, and really just a few years away from seeing these treatments being approved and maybe prescribable by a doctor.
Now, I know that there's some recent partnerships that Cybin's made. Can you talk about these announcements and maybe these collaborations and how this is going to support Cybin's programs?
Yeah, there are two that I'll talk about. The first is with Thermo Fisher. Thermo Fisher is a $150 billion contract manufacturing global operation, and we've partnered with them to manufacture our compounds. So our compounds are novel, they're unique and patented, and we want to make sure we have rock-solid supply across the U.S. and also globally. So Thermo Fisher is manufacturing our compounds in the U.S., so domestic supply, no importation challenges or anything like that. So just very important for us to have that foundational partner very early on. The second partnership is with an organization called Osmind. They're a tech company, and their software platform is essentially an operating platform for interventional psychiatry centers. So across the U.S., there are about 6,000 interventional psychiatry centers where treatments like ketamine and S-ketamine and TMS, which is transcranial magnetic stimulation, these interventional psychiatry treatments are administered. These are exactly the locations where we would expect our psychedelic treatments to be administered when approved. So getting inside 800 or so of these clinics, understanding how they operate, understanding how to make decisions, understanding how to make money, these things are really critical for us in terms of data mining so that we can understand the customer before we come to market. So some very important partnerships there.
Man, that's amazing. And when you think about like the next phases of what this could look like and what this industry can be, it kind of seems like the infrastructure, right? Like the tracks, so to speak.
That's exactly right. This framework that's already out there, this collection of clinics, about 6,000 or so, is growing very, very rapidly, and which is quite amazing. I mean, we're always hearing about. Yeah, I mean, in mental health, that's amazing because we hear about a lack of resources in mental health all the time, and yet here, secretly, quietly in the background, are these centers emerging and growing where patients can go for different kinds of treatment modalities. So it's fantastic news for patients.
Wow. Switching it up here, FDA, recent conversations, takeaways. I mean, you're in this world day in and day out. Like talk to me. What's going on with the FDA?
It's quite an ironic situation. I think we have the war on drugs that began in the early 70s with the creation of the DEA in the Nixon administration. And we've been told since then that the psychedelics are bad for you, and that psychedelics are actually could be dangerous. And now, what a reversal. We see the head of HHS, we see the FDA commissioner, both publicly stating that they think that psychedelic research is a priority, and mental health is a priority there. And we've been granted this breakthrough therapy designation by the FDA as well. So it's really quite a remarkable turnaround, and I don't think the regulatory environment could be any more positive today than it is. We've just seen tremendous engagement from the FDA. I think they're genuinely intrigued and even maybe quite excited about the chance of finally being able to kind of cure impact depressive disease rather than just treat symptoms. So we've seen heavy engagement and we've seen great consultative discussions with them where we're really getting guidance rather than just getting a check in a box. And that really helps us as we go into this phase 3 program, which is the final phase before approval, where we're testing our lead compound in about 550 patients. It's really important to get those studies right. And so that engagement, that interaction with the FDA has been really, truly valuable in putting that program together.
Yeah, I feel like got to be a lot of visibility on this one, huh? These conversations, a lot of people are watching this particular discussion. Obviously, everything the FDA, does is highly watched, but I think it's interesting to see in our lifetime, like some of the changes that could happen down the line, like due to these, decisions and the process that's happening right now. I mean, it really can be a game changer. It's going to be really interesting to watch.
I think it's really remarkable to see the U.S. administration embracing this approach. Yeah. They really are they really are leading the way in the world. And when we talk to agencies in Asia or in Europe, they are definitely further behind and more skeptical. And the FDA is being far more open-minded and issuing guidance to drug developers, helping them along the way. So we should be proud of that.
Yeah. So interesting. Well, Doug, I'll tell you, this has been great having you on the show today and catching up, learning more about Cybin and educating myself and the audience as well on the topic. That being said, if somebody's listening to this or watching this and they want to connect or they want to continue to follow the journey of you and Cybin, how do they do that?
Well, folks can always connect with me on LinkedIn, Doug Drysdale. Happy to connect with anyone that's interested. If you're interested in following the company, the best place is always the website, which is cybin.com. That's CYBIN.com. And there are several ways on the website to connect with us.
Fantastic. And for anybody listening, just so you know, we'll definitely put some links in the show notes, so you can just click on the links and head right on over. And speaking to the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. Each and every day we're bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way on your journey as well. So again, hit that subscribe or follow button. And Doug, thank you for coming on the show.
Great to talk with you, Adam. Thanks very much.